la distinguée représentante du Royaume des Pays-Bas. Je donne maintenant la parole à la distinguée représentante de l'Ukraine.
Mr. Chair, this September, officials from all over the world, together with us, youth delegates, gathered here in the United Nations headquarters to discuss how to build a better world for future generations. And during our talks here, the Russian Federation, occupying a seat of the permanent member of the United Nations Security Council, has been killing the present generations of my country. This same September, the Bazilevich family was killed by Russians in my hometown, Lviv. Yarina Bazilevich was a friend of mine. She was one of the co-organizers of the biggest youth event in Ukraine, Molodvish. I have Yarina's organizer's badge here, similar to the ones all of us have to enter the UN building. But she never had a chance to wear it, because the Russian missile targeted her family's house 3 days before the event. The Bazilevich family became victims of Russian unprovoked aggression only for one reason, of being Ukrainians, as dozens of thousands of other Ukrainian people. Behind each number there is a soul whose future was forcibly taken away. Each young person who has been killed or is missing could have contributed to future generations. For those who are lucky enough to stay alive, daily reality is filled with struggles. Fighting for their country's independence in trenches, waking up to explosions, studying in shelters, living in constant power outages and facing mental trauma, and being in the epicenter of constant nuclear threats from Russia. Ukrainian youth on Ukrainian territories that are temporarily occupied by Russia live under even more horrible conditions. They are tortured, forcibly recruited into the Russian army, and deprived of freedom of speech. They are forcibly deprived of their identity, as it is a key Russian warfare approach in their neo-colonial war. I wish one day all member states stop being the onlookers of war crimes. I wish one day universal human rights become truly universal in all parts of the world. Let's roll up our sleeves and finally make it happen for the sake of future generations. To ensure it, let's bring just and lasting peace to the present generations and to Ukraine. My co-delegate will continue with a statement.
Mr. Chair, esteemed delegates, it is my honor to address you as Ukraine's youth delegate. Today marks the 952nd day of the unprovoked, illegal, full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, over 10 years since the beginning of the war, and many centuries of Russian imperialistic terror against Ukrainians. The war has had a devastating impact on everyone in Ukraine, and it has disproportionately affected women, children, and youth. Women face increased vulnerabilities, including lack of resources, limited access to essential services, gender-based violence, and harmful stereotypes. Despite this, Ukrainian women are stepping into critical roles, managing households, volunteering, and taking jobs traditionally held by men. However, they still face economic instability and gender pay gap of 18.6%. Tackling these issues is essential for women's full contribution to Ukraine's victory and recovery. Every child deserves the right to education, social development, and the future, yet today 1 in 4 children in the world is affected by war. In Ukraine, over 3,790 schools have been damaged or destroyed, severely disrupting education and children's integration into society. Nearly 1 million Ukrainian children are forced to learn remotely, with many others studying in shelters under constant air raid sirens. Our youth face war-related challenges during a crucial stage of their development. As a young person and a youth worker, I want to highlight the resilience of Ukrainian youth. We are taking action, volunteering, and 72% are now eager to contribute to the recovery efforts. I call for global recognition of youth work, for meaningful participation and inclusion of young people in decision-making processes at all levels. Peace and social development are interconnected, and involving young people, young leaders, women in decision-making and peace-building processes is crucial to preventing future conflicts. While we discuss the future, we also must prioritize a safe tomorrow for everyone, especially for those the most vulnerable. Today, we need to transform our deep concerns over the war into decisive collective action, timely support, and tangible aid. We must unite our efforts to stop the widespread violation of human rights and international law in Ukraine and around the world.